So the objective of this module would be to understand what is new in Excel 2010 or the latest versions, and we will also try to describe the abilities and functions of Excel. Now the first thing, when we see Excel, the Excel that was there in the beginning, like if you talk about Excel 2003 also, or Excel 2007 or the previous versions, we had simple menu bars and menu items were there which will be shown as a drop down. So if you click on file or insert or data, so a drop down will come and you have to click on that particular option to open a feature, let's say a function or a particular feature of Excel. However, from Excel 2010, they have introduced, in fact 2007, they have introduced the concept of ribbon. So a ribbon is a modified version of the menu, and in this what happens, like you have both the pictorial representation as well as the names of the menu items also. So if you see here, like this is the home ribbon, and you have all the other options of number, style, cells, editing, alignment, font, and clipboard. Those all things are there. And all these menu items are grouped, like insert is a group, page layout is a group, formulas is a group, and it is obviously possible. So when we say that these are the menu items, these are the default menu items that we have got for Excel, but this is not the end. We can also create our own tab, or we can customize this particular ribbon also. So before we start off, before we do some research work on our data, let's understand the environment in which we will be working. So this is that environment, and whenever we want to customize a ribbon, so in that case we can go to customize ribbon option. You can just right click and then go to customize ribbon option. Let me show you. So we'll try to do some like live things also, like while doing it. So as we say that this is your ribbon. So this is the home ribbon, insert, page layout, formulas. So these are the various ribbons that we have. And as I was saying that these all groups, like within the ribbon, are also we can also modify them. So we were just seeing that option. So what we do usually, we go to file, and then we have something called options. Now this is how it will look like when you go to options. Previously we had concepts like file, properties, and other options were there, but from 2007, 2010 they have modified the environment, and then usually we go to file and options, or we click on the logo of Excel that is there on the left hand side corner, top left corner, and from there we can select this Excel options. So right now I'm talking about this customization of ribbon. So at times, let's say when you have opened Excel, you might not be seeing the data or the review or the view. These all ribbons are not available. So in that case, what you can do, you can always come here and then you can activate that particular ribbon, and then you can work with that and say, let's take an example that when I see, let's say when I open Excel, I see something like this, only home, insert, page layout, and view. Then you wonder that where are the other items? So those items are here. So what we can do, we can go to options, as we said, customize ribbon. So now we understand that these all were not checked, because of which you were not able to view the ribbons. And then you say OK. So we get the new options. Now it is not that only we can means have a permutation and combination with the existing ribbons only. We can also create our own ribbon. So if you have seen this, when you go to File and Options and go to Customize Ribbon, there is an option called New Tab. Fine. You can create a new tab and a new group. So let's try that. And also there is a option, there is a feature to change the order of these tabs. So these are the main tabs and that Excel has got. If you want, you can create your own tab also. So this is how you can create a tab, and then you can give it a name. You say My Tab, something like this, and you say OK. Now here you can create your own group. So you can have a symbol for this particular group, and then when you say OK, you can see that your new tab is there and these groups are there where you can insert your own commands as well. So we'll talk about this. So right now just understand that it is possible to bring back your or hide some of the ribbons that is there in Excel, and it is also possible to create your own ribbon in Excel. So for the time being, just understand this particular thing. We will talk about the new groups. We'll talk how to put your own commands and everything in our consecutive sessions or during this session itself. So we'll try that. So we were talking about tabs, how to create a tab. So apart from the tabs, let me also make you aware that you have other options as well for a workbook. You can save a workbook. You can manage the files. You can save a workbook as a macro workbook also. You can save it as a PDF also. You can save it as a picture also, a part of the chart and data. Those all things can be saved in different formats. That flexibility Excel gives us. And you can export your data. You can import data from other locations. Let's say if you have some data on the internet, you can download that data and put it in Excel also. Those all things we'll see. And Excel 2010, when we talk about the abilities and new features of Excel, so this is one of the very good feature of Excel, that it is available on iPhone, or it is available on phone also. So you have the MS Excel 2010 app, and it's available on Windows platform, Windows. And we will also take care of some advanced features of Excel, like we'll see how we can create Sparklines. So Sparklines are very useful objects that we can create in Excel, because at times what happens that you might not be requiring the entire graph, or that let's say the data is so much that you cannot just have a separate chart. In that case, we would like to show the graphs or the charts in your Excel sheet itself. So in those all scenarios, Sparklines is a very good feature to handle that. We will do this in detail, and we will show you how to do it in a very easy and very comfortable way you can do that. We will also talk about one of the very good feature that I feel in Excel, that is of slicers. So before we move on to slicers, we will definitely talk about pivot charts and pivot tables. And pivot table will be our base for creating slicers. Slicers, let me give you a very quick idea about a brief introduction about slicers. Slicers, what happens is that, let's say you have created a dashboard for your audience, for your management, for your office. Now at times they want that dashboard to be interactive. Interactive in the sense that you might have created a sales chart for 1 year, let's say. Now they want to see it only for 6 months, or they want to see a trend of some other sales figures or some zone-wise sales figure, something like this. So they have to come back to you, usually as a reporting person or an analyst who is working on Excel, to make the changes, to make the modifications in that Excel chart or the pivot tables. But with slicers, the situation can be a big, it can be a big difference. Like, so we can give the liberty of interactivity with the slicers. So we will see to it, and we will take a sample data right here. I will show you how to create slicers in just 2-3 steps. We will do it. And believe me, after you have seen the steps and after you have done it of your own, you will feel like you have got a very important, you have learned about a very important tool in Excel. So those things we will be taking care of. So this is a hands-on activity that you can do. So apart from the customized ribbon, we do have toolbar also. We call it quick access toolbar. So if you see, this one is your quick access toolbar. So you can use that, you can customize that also if you want something else, some more commands. So those all things can be kept over here. This is the quick access toolbar. So now there is something that we can see here live. So then after we have talked about the ribbon and after we have talked about the quick access toolbar, so there is a very good thing that Excel provides. We will talk about that now. Are you aware of what is cell reference? Just quickly go through this reference thing. This is a very important thing also. Whenever you are writing a formula or using a function, we will see, because this is the foundation of whatever we will be doing in next 6 sessions. So that's why I just wanted to go through this quickly. That cell reference is a way to access a particular cell. So let's take an example. I am having 2 numbers here. One is 23 and let's say any number, 45. And here I also have 2 numbers, 67 and let's say 40, something like this. So just to give you a brief idea, so there are 3 types of references. One is absolute, another one is your relative reference, and another one is your mixed reference. Right? So just understand this thing. Let's take an example that I want to refer to. This is E4. So I say equal to E4, let's say. So this means it is referring to the cell. Now when I copy the formula, what happens is that instead of E4, now it has become F4. So here also, if I want that, the data that I had here should be displayed over here also. In that case, we use referencing. So F4, understand this, F4, when you say that E4 or F4, this particular thing, it's simple. This is known as a relative reference. Now, if you add dollar to it like this, I'll be using this term often while doing pivots or other things or in charts. So that's why, just to make sure that you are aware of this particular thing, use your relative referencing or fixed referencing or absolute referencing to achieve this particular thing. So you should be aware of this and quickly take it back. So the first one is relative. This one is your absolute. So absolute means by the word itself says that yes, I am referring to only E4 and nowhere else. This means that as and when you go on to different cells, the formula will keep on changing and the value will keep on changing. So at times you might require to put the same kind of formula, same kind of value in all different cells. So in that case, this particular absolute and relative reference will help you. In case you are writing like this, E and then 4, something like this. So, or you are writing dollar, or you are writing E $4. So both of them would be referred to as, both of them will be referred to as mixed referencing. So here you are freezing the column E, and here you are freezing the row number 8. Fine. So we will see these things in detail when we are practicing or when we are looking into some data. Okay. So referencing is very important. So please go through that, how it works. If you have some data, check that. Some examples will be there to understand how referencing works. So as you are aware, what is this absolute and relative? I think you can, at your own convenience, you can solve these problems also, which are there. So let me take a data set. This might not be the same data set with you. I'm just taking a sample data set. Most of the time we will be using this data set only. This is sample data of a grocery store, let's say, and which has got some stores in Bengaluru, and there are some place names like, you know how to put filter, and I can check here that there are actually 4 stores: Bangarpet, Bengaluru, Mangalore, Mysore, something like this. And these people, they sell their products all around the year. So April to March, January, everything is there. And these months have been divided into 4 quarters. And we have some items over here. Then we have some groups of those items, so bread, fruit, non-veg, and all these things. And we have some quantity. These are all random, like random. As a random, I have put these numbers, so don't worry about this. And sales also, these are all random figures. So since you said that we just need to understand through an example, so that's why I just brought up this data. This data will be available to you, don't worry. So when I say mixed referencing, so let's take an example that I want to take the sum of this numbers. Let's say the first 5 numbers. I want to take a sum. Now, if I say equal to sum, and then I say like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I close it, then I'll get the sum very easily. Now, the moment I see what happens when I just drag this formula down. So, if you talk about this particular cell, it is having the next 5 numbers. This is having the next 5 numbers. Like this, it is going on. Now, I don't want this. I want the same addition, or this kind of addition to happen in my next column as well. So in that case, what we can do, we can just have the same formula. Like if I say here, if I copy the formula of J in K, then it will have a problem, because right now what is happening, this is taking the relative reference. Now I don't want that. I want the row to be fixed. Sorry, the column to be fixed and not the row. So in this case, what I can do, while I am copying
before I copy the formula, what I can do, I will freeze my F and not the 2 and 6. Understand this thing, this is very important. So what I am doing, I am using mixed referencing here. I am freezing the column but not the row. So what is happening, if I just press enter, nothing, the number will be like this only. But see what happens when I copy this number here. So since this particular function or this particular formula, whatever we have written, was referencing to F, so wherever you copy this, suppose if you copy here also, it should be referring to my original column. So I have frozen the column, not the rows. So what do I mean by that? So right now I get 218 as the summation of the first 5 numbers. Now I want to repeat this particular thing here like this. Now if I just drag the formula, I get the same answer here. Why? Because this is also referring to my F column. However, because I have not touched the row numbers 2 and 6, that's why what is happening, the moment you copy this particular formula down, it is taking up the same difference. Like if you are talking about this, it will move record wise, but column wise it is always fixed. Now the problem is fixed reference. So if I would have done this, instead of F2, if I would have frozen both, here it won't make any difference. But if I want to copy this here, see what is happening, the same number I am getting, because wherever I go in this Excel sheet, it will refer only to those 5 numbers. So be very clear about this, like what you want to freeze. Are you looking at freezing only the rows or the columns or the particular range itself? So that depends on you. So my criteria over here was to just freeze the column and not the record. So this means that this particular thing or this particular formula, maybe if I copy it here also or here also, I am going to get the same result. But this particular formula or this particular formula, if I copy it here, I am not going to get 288 here. It's only giving 218. So understand the difference between this one and this one. So this one is a normal summation. So if I change the location, then obviously it will shift from F to G if I change it. However, this one, what is happening, that we have changed only the row position, but the column position remains same. So I have only frozen F and not 9 and 13 or 2 or 6 or whatever the row numbers are there. So I am giving Excel the flexibility to move only within column F. So if you want Excel to only work on a particular column, then freeze your column. If you want Excel to work on a particular row, then freeze your row. And if you want Excel to only work on the specified range that you have given, then freeze row and column both. Right? So if you are freezing row and column both, that becomes your absolute referencing. If you are not freezing anything, so that becomes relative referencing. And if you are freezing either the row or the column, that becomes mixed referencing. Okay, so the other features that we have got for Excel is related to comments. We can use different. So what do you mean by comments? Like, let's say you want to put some. If you want to put some comment over here, so right now you see that whatever I do, this comment is coming as admin. But instead of admin, I want here my name or my company's name, something like this. So in that case, Excel 2010 gives me a flexibility to modify this. You can go to options, and here you see that username is kept as admin. That's why admin is coming everywhere whenever you're trying to comment. So I want my name to be appearing over here. See, it has changed. So you can see the difference. Here it was admin. After this I changed, and now wherever I comment, this would appear with my name. This is a very good feature that Excel has got. So you can use this. You can see every time, instead of writing your name or putting your company name or your name, so what you can do, you can modify it directly from your options, and then you can, wherever you make the comments, you can utilize it. Yeah. So what I was saying, that if you are aware of the feature called hyperlink in Excel, then we can quickly go through it. Otherwise, I'll explain what is hyperlink and then how it can be achieved. So just let me know whether you are aware of hyperlink. That's a very good feature, and believe me, through this hyperlink option, you can create a beautiful dashboard in Excel, and which can run to multiple worksheets, and then you can create a main worksheet which has got some hyperlinks or buttons, and then you can reference them to other sheets. So what I was talking about, let's say you have data in one page, and let's say you have, don't worry, I'll explain all these things. I'm just, for the sake of showing you what is hyperlink, I'm just creating some random charts and all these things. I'll show each and everything, and I'll share each and everything with you. Don't worry about that. So what I'm doing here, I'm just trying to make it beautiful and trying to make a chart. Let's say I'll show all these things to you just for the time being. Let's say this is a sheet which has got my chart. So I name it as chart, and this is the sheet which has got some data. So based on this data, I have created some chart. And this is my main sheet, let's say. This is my main sheet. So what I do, I write the name of the company, let's say ABC, some companies there, and I put some and write like this, go to data and go to something like this. Go to data and go to chart, suppose. And I have created a very beautiful dashboard kind of thing. Let's say something, some pictures, something like this, and it's very beautifully made. And I want that people should be clicking on this to go to both the pages. I will restrict also. I will restrict them also. So see, whenever you go to, you want to create a hyperlink, you just right click there and say hyperlink, and then you have an option, either you can go within the document or you can open some other document also. Opening other documents I will tell you later, but for the time being, let's say I'm just creating
two hyperlinks. One is for data and one is for chart. Go to hyperlink, and here I'm saying place in this document. Like I want to move with my hyperlinks in this particular document itself. So I just say chart, something like this. Now what happens? You click here, you will be taken to the chart, and you click here, you will be taken to the data. Now, to how to make it more useful. Here what you do, you create another option called home, let's say. And here also you create another option called home, let's say. And then what you do, you right click here, hyperlink, and say main, okay. And the same thing, you do it here, right click, hyperlink, main, like this. Now see, let's take an example. You can modify this from chart, from the options. There is a way of hiding your sheet tabs also. I'm sure you are aware of this thing. If not, just see. If you can go to Excel options, from there you go to advanced, you will see something called show sheet tabs. Sheet tabs are nothing but these all, chart, main, whatever I have named. So let's take an example. I remove this sheet tab. So my Excel sheet will look like this. And make it more beautiful, I remove the headings, I remove the grid lines also. The Excel sheet looks like this now. Now what happens that now I have a, see, nobody can see where are my data and where are my charts. So what I can do, I can just click here. You want to go to data? Okay, click here. My data is here. You want to go back? Click here, you will go back. You want to see the chart? Come here, you can see the chart. You want to go back? See. So without letting the user see what are the tabs I have got, how many sheets I have got, what all things I am hiding from the viewer or the user, so you can use this particular facility. So without telling the details of this particular worksheet, you can give it to somebody and use hyperlinks and beautify this particular as a sheet, as a dashboard, make it as a main sheet, and then gradually what you can do, you can move to different sheets, move to different parts of the file very quickly, very easily. See how easy, how simple it is. So here the sheets have been removed. I don't have access to the sheets. So your management or your higher-ups, wherever you are presenting this particular Excel file, will see it as a dashboard. So they are not aware that how many sheets are there and all those things. So that's a very good feature of Excel. I like this feature. So whenever I create a dashboard, and a very beautiful dashboard with charts and everything, and I present it to a group of people who are not so aware of, let's say, Excel, and they want it to be presented in a very professional way. So in those all places, I use hyperlinks over there. I create a beautiful main page and I do it like this. So the next thing that we are going to concentrate on is the use of functions in Excel. So there are different types of functions that we have in Excel. We have string functions, we have mathematical functions, we have other date and time functions. So several functions are there. You can see that there is a tab called formula, and it has got insert function, auto sum. Now when we have some data, let's say this is my data, there are various methods of inserting a function or a formula. Now here, let's say if I want to, let's say I have just 5 numbers with me. I'm just putting it out here. So this is one more trick. Let's say if you want to paste the values, then you can always, instead of just saying Control C, Control V, you can right click on the target cell and then you can choose values and number formats to place them. In case you wish to paste the numbers, if it is in row, you want to paste it in column wise, or if it is in column, then you want to paste it in row wise, then there is an option called transpose here. So since we are just discussing copy pasting and I want to take these numbers, see what I mean to say. While pasting it, you say values, that is fine. If you simply paste it, it will just paste the numbers. However, if you say paste special and you click on transpose and then you click on values and then you say OK, see what happens. My data is pasted in row form. So this is very good thing in Excel, that you can transpose your data into rows and columns. So let's take an example that you have some data that you have received from the management or from your department, that it is in row format and you want to do some calculations, then you can always transpose that particular data in column format. So what I was saying, that let's take an example, I want to do sum. So I can just say sum and then I can select these numbers. These are very simple function. Okay, so these are very simple functions. Let's say sum, how to do the sum and all. But here, the thing that I'm going to explain is not simple sum function. Instead, I want to explain a function called if. Now, if is a function which can be used in programming as well, and it can be used for simple calculations as well. So just let me show you how the if works, if condition works. First of all, tell me, are you aware of this function called if? So if condition, as I say, that it can be used for programming as well as in normal data also. So right now, we will take care of the data part of it. So the things that we have discussed till now, you can practice it at your own pace and with your own data. So those things are just nominal things in Excel. We can start off with, like as we discussed about ribbon and other features of Excel. Now the thing that I'm going to discuss, just to pay attention to it, is very important. So I told you that there are different ways of introducing a condition into a cell. So right now we will be checking that. So if condition. So if condition has actually three parts of it. First is the test that we are going to perform. Second is what happens, what do you want Excel to do if the condition is true. And third is what do you want Excel to do if the condition is false. So those things are there. So when you say, we are all aware that if you want to introduce a function or a formula, we need to start with if. We need to start with equal to or plus. Okay, so right now I'm writing an if condition. The moment I say if, the same thing has appeared, logical test, value if true, value if false. So what I want, that if the quantity, let's say, if the quantity is more than 50, then the result should be good, or if the quantity is less than 50, then the result should be bad. So just a simple calculation or a simple function or a simple output I want in my column, this H column. So for that, I'm just introducing a function. If logical test, what I want to give, if this is what? This is F2. So now from here onwards, your application of mixed, absolute and relative referencing will start. I will just say use relative reference or mixed reference, and then you should be able to understand what I mean to say, since we have just practiced it. So if condition I am introducing, I am saying that if this value quantity is greater than, so as you say, so you type, is greater than 50, then if it is more than 50, I say good. My result is good. Else, I say bad. Now, before I close, this is what the function would be. Now, make sure you understand the first part, F2. F2 is nothing but the data. It is already pointing to it. If it is greater than 50, since it is a number, I can directly use these symbols, greater than, less than, equal to. These are all operators that we have in terms of numbers. We'll talk about all these operators in details when we see the other functions or the usage of other facilities in Excel. We will do that. Conditional formatting and formatting, when we see, we will talk about these operators in detail again. So for the time being, just to understand that if the condition says if this number is greater than 50, it is good, otherwise false or bad. So this number is definitely less than 50, so it is giving me the answer as bad, which is absolutely correct. Now, here comes the beauty of reference. Instead of this F2, if I would have written here $F$2, which means that wherever I go, I want the result of this particular cell itself. See what happens? You copy this and you paste it here, it still gives the answer. So this is the example of absolute reference. I am referring to only this. So even if I have copied my formula here, it is referencing to this particular place. Now, I don't want that. I want that only my F column should be fixed, not my rows. So once I will take 16, then I will take 80. I want Excel to take 57 on all these numbers consecutively and give me the answer. I want to take the formula down. Right now what is happening, if I drag it down, everywhere it will be bad, 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 bad. Though this is not the case, because wherever I click, I am pointing to that F only. But this is not what I want. So what I will do, the best way is to take help of mixed referencing. So I will freeze my column called F, but I will not freeze my row. Now what happens when you copy this down? See, the result is here. So this particular cell will have a function operated on this number 80. Similarly, this one 55. Even if it is C, even if it is 50, it will say bad, because my condition says if it is greater than 50. So if it is only 51 or more than that, then only it will say good, otherwise not. So you can always modify this. In case I just want to change this function and I want to include 50 also in my if condition. I want that if it is 50 or more than 50, then it should be good, otherwise it should be bad. If I want to put it that way, what should be my if condition? Like right now I see that I have given a condition which says greater than 50. So the problem is here when it is 50, still it is saying bad, but I want this particular thing to be good, which means that I want to include 50 as well in my function. So if we have to do some modification in this particular part, what is that modification? It is greater than equal to. So just directly I am saying greater than equal to So now if I copy this, watch out for this particular 50. Right now it is bad, but when I copy this function down, it should get converted to good. So right now 50 is also included. So this is one. Now what if I want to repeat the same thing? This is for quantity. So I say this is quantity result, and I want to have here sales result. Now see here, since this particular function was applicable to F, even if I move this particular function, if I say copy and say paste, it is still referring to F because I have given here mixed referencing, and I want Excel not to move from column F. So that's why it is still taking column F only. But here I want the result of sales. So in that case, what will happen, instead of F, it should point me to G. So what I can do, there are so many ways to do that. Either you can just type here G2, or you can simply drag this and put it here and say, but since it is sales, I don't want it to be compared with 50. I want it to be compared with 5,000, let's say a bigger number. And I want to change it to something like wow, and here no anything. So my function looks like this. So if my sales is more than 5,000 or above, then it's a wow sales, or otherwise it's a no. So the same thing what I can do here, I can just copy this and see, I get a output. Now the tricky part of it comes here. I want a super result, and this time it says if my quantity is more than 50 and my sales is more than 5,000, then only the result should say, let's say yes, or otherwise it should say no. So now I want to introduce a if function which will take care of both the quantity and sales. Last we did it for one, this one also for one column. Now I want to introduce two conditions over here. So my intention is, last we use this if condition only for one column. This also we use only for one column. This time I want to use an if condition which will take care of both the columns at once. So what I need to do, I'll start off with if. In logical test, there is a beautiful thing in Excel that we can introduce multiple cells or multiple columns also. What I can do, I can say and. The moment I say and, Excel knows that I'm going to give multiple logical tests to it. So I say and two logics I will give. The first one is that this should be greater than or equal to whatever you wish to 50. Second logic is this should be greater than or equal to whatever you wish, 5,000, and then you close. Now what is happening here, I started my if condition, but the logic says that it will now track both the columns F as well as G, and only when both the columns are true, then only it will proceed to the true value. It says, let's say I want here to display yes, else no. So did you follow this if condition? So right now you can see that my single if condition is pointing to both F and G at a time. So this is possible. Through one if condition, I can point to multiple cells, multiple rows, multiple columns. So now when I say, I press enter, so here it is saying no. Understand this result. It's saying no. Why? Because one condition has matched, but the other condition is not matching. Now what about this? This should give me a yes. Why? Because this is also greater than equal to 50 and this is also greater than equal to 5000. Let me see. I just drag this down. Oh wow, it is working fine. So eventually if I drag this formula, I can see this. Now we will slightly modify our Excel. So as I told you, there are different ways of inserting a function. So here we have chosen the other way of inserting function into your cells. Also this you can follow. There are some hands-on activities also. So please, I would suggest that you go through these if conditions and try to solve them. And these all things we have seen just now. And this is the other way around. I told you that you can go to insert function and then go to if and then give the logical test. Nested if condition. Right? So nested if condition can be combined also. So let me take you through this nested if condition now. So if conditions you have understood and how to work with or and nor, that also you have understood. So let me take you through the nested if condition. And or, so these are all examples of and or logical conditions, and or we have just gone through these things. Or okay, so then they're talking about auto sum and mix, max and min. So we'll see that. But before going to auto sum, just we'll touch upon what is nested if condition with the same data only. Let me just remove this, make it plain and simple. The same thing that we have done through and or, we can achieve using nested if condition. So nested if condition is if condition inside another if condition. So see how we can achieve that. The same result, there are different approaches. So at time you might have to use nested if condition. So the same thing we will try out here. So you say that if your quantity is more than 50 and your sales is more than 5000, then you say yes, otherwise no. Suppose simple condition that I am talking about. See what you can do. Now we had already experienced this particular if condition. We can easily say if this is greater than equal to 50, okay, now another trick comes. So there are some scenario where and or not will not work. Suppose you want to decide for a condition based on the output of the first condition. Then what? So we are going into more complex situation. The situation here says that if your quantity is more than 50, then only you check whether the sales is more than 5000 or not. And then if it is, then you say yes, otherwise you say no. So what I mean to say, previously you only had like this, greater than 50. Then you do something or else you do something. That is how we wrote the if condition. Now what I am saying, if my quantity is more than 50, then you check the sales. And if you find the sales as more than 5000, then you report it as good, otherwise bad, something like this, let's say. So here,
we can't use AND because we are not checking both the conditions simultaneously. Understand this. We are checking the second condition only when the first condition is true. So in that case, you have to use or you have to take help of nested if condition. So pay attention to this. What I am doing, I am saying if the condition is true, then you get into another if condition. So if condition within another if condition. So then I say if my quantity is greater than equal to 50, then you check whether the sales is greater than 5,000. So then you check whether the sales is greater than equal to 5,000. And if this is true, means if both the things are true, then you say it is good, or else you can say it as bad, something like this. And see, this is the closure of one if condition. Otherwise, you can give something else here. Let's say I'm giving here okay. So now you see that instead of 2, I have 3 results now. It can be either good, or it can be bad, or it can be okay. So if it is less than 50, then obviously we will say okay. We won't check for the sales only. But if it is more than 50, then we will go further and check the sales. If the sales is greater than or equal to 50, then we will say good, otherwise bad. So let's try this. So this time the result says okay. Why? Because my quantity is not at all more than 50. So it did not check for the sales even. Even though the sales is more than 5,000, since my quantity was less than 50, it is okay. Now the question, what will be the result out here? All of you, can you just predict the output over here? This second result, what it should be, bad, good, or okay? The answer should be good. So it looks complex. So when you look at the function, it looks very complex. However, when you break it up, it will be like very easy to understand. So this is the use of nested if condition. Again, let me tell you, there is no limitation to it. If you are capable of putting 5 if conditions, one inside another, and if your template, if your data demands that, you can always go for that. So it is possible to put multiple if conditions, and it is possible to put nested if conditions within one condition. That is always possible in Excel. There is a concept of range in Excel. So let's say I have this data. This is for, let's say, quarter 1, and then I have this data for quarter 2. Fine. So in Excel, I can give them name also, and I can refer to them. So let's take an example that this particular data, these 8 numbers, the sum of these numbers is 372. Let's write it here. How do you find the sum? Sum and quarter 1 equal to sum, bracket start, quarter 1, and you close it, you get the answer. Sorry.
I was supposed to do it with quantity. The answer is 372, let's say. Now, I have data for quantity 2 also, and my answer is here 286, let's say. You can see here there are 8 numbers and the summation is 286. So what I can do, I can write again sum, and then this time I am taking quantity 2, these 8 numbers, and I'm closing this and say enter. So 372 and 286 have come. Now there are situations where every time you don't want to just go to this cell range and see what number I should drag and what number I should take care of. So in that case, Excel gives a very good feature of declaring this as a name. So understand here what the function is. It says equal to sum of F2 to F9. But instead of that, what I can do, I can name these 8 numbers, let's say as QTR1. Suppose you say, name it as QTR1, let's say. So what it says, let me explain it once again if you have not noticed it. I want this data, this is my first quarter data, to be named as an object so that I can use this anywhere. So what I am doing, these all things I have selected, and then anywhere just right click and go to define name, and when you click on define name, you get this kind of screen. There you put a name of your choice. Let's say I am putting it as QTR1. Now there is something called scope. Scope means this QTR1 can be used anywhere in this workbook. So in the other page also, if I say sum QTR1, it should work. That is the idea. And it refers to these cells. See here, this is absolute reference. Fine. So I am always referring QTR1 as this particular range only. And then I say OK. Suppose QTR. So instead of the cell range, I have put it as a name. So now if I say equal to sum, and then I say QTR1. See, QTR1 has already come here. And then QTR1, and you close this. See the beauty automatically. So what I was saying, that instead of working with a range, and if that range is fixed, then what you can do, you can name it. Name that particular range and then see how simple it is. Let's take an example. Okay, so now quickly let's say I want the sum, the mean, the average, the max of the same quarter 1. It's very easy to do now. I need not bother about the range. I'll just say min. Min is a function. And I say QTR1, QTR1. And I say like this. It's happening. You say average. And then instead of numbers or instead of giving range, I just say QTR1. It's giving me the answer. So similarly for max, if you say max and then you say QTR1, it's giving me the answer. So see, now these all places I'm not bothered about the exact location. I know that I have named that particular location as QTR1. So wherever I see, QTR1 is actually that particular range. So this is a very good feature of Excel, and we will explore this particular feature while working on dynamic lists, so that we will see. That is a very good feature of Excel, and we will be having a data set through which you can also work and follow the instructions over there. So this is what I was trying to explain. Like, instead of going for a range, you can name your range as a name using Excel, and then you can take that particular range anywhere. So you can name it and then use it anywhere.
So let me take see the beauty of Excel now. I have some data and I copy and paste it here. Simple.
There is no formatting done. It's a raw data, let's say, and I wanted to put some random numbers over here. So for quantity and sales, I wanted to put some random numbers. So random numbers, to put random numbers in Excel, we need to take help of a function. So in Excel, there are different types of functions. We have seen some of these functions in Excel right now, like sum, average, min, max, if, and all those functions are there. But there is a category of function in Excel which triggers by itself. Fine. So I'm giving you one example. Let's say time function. So if in any of the cells, if you want to put there's a function called now. Look at this. Right now, it's 6th of December, 10:27. It is showing. It is taking the system time. So if you see, after some time, the time will change here. Similarly, there are some other functions also, and these category of functions in Excel are known as volatile functions. So volatile functions are the functions which gets automatically triggered, and means if you are calling or if you are working on some other things, these functions will automatically get triggered. So I'll just take you through one of those functions here. That was my intention, to show you this now function over here. That's a volatile function in Excel. So there is a function called rand between. So very beautiful function, rand between. It does nothing. It just gives a random number between two numbers. So if you say that I want a number between 10 and 50, then it will give you a random number. So for the time being, let's say I'm saying 10, 50, and I press enter. Look at this cell F2, and also simultaneously look at this A5. By the time we were speaking, 2 minutes have already passed. So watch out. This has given me a number. This random number 10 to 50, between 10 to 50. Simultaneously, my time also got updated. It was 27, now it is 29. So because now it is 29, it is updating here. So these two are volatile functions. This rand is also a volatile function. This is also a volatile function, this now. There are other volatile functions also, like today. Fine. So every day you open, if you have written today in some cell, and if you open this Excel file tomorrow, you will see instead of 6th, it will be 7th, something like this. Okay. So there are usage. So it's not that it's of no use, just to show the date. There are usage. Let's take an example that your management has asked for age calculation. So age calculation is nothing but you have some tickets or you have some data, and he or the management wants to see that since how many days my data is there, or my inventory is there, or my sales, whatever, any kind of data.
So in that case, whenever you are calculating age is always calculated from current date. So understand, if you have put this particular function in one of the cells, then your calculation becomes easier. You don't have to every day repeat the same function. You put it as today. Whenever the person opens the file, the age will be considered from that particular day itself. That's the beauty of volatile function. So next, if you have seen, while I was giving this date, this number changed from 46 to 23. And look at here, how it changes. You do anything, look at column F now. You do anything here, wherever we have introduced volatile functions, it will change. It will change. See, this is what volatile function means. Keep on changing. Now, I said that I wanted to use volatile function, but only to put some data, and I don't want those data to be changing every time. So obviously, what I will do, I will freeze these values. But there is a problem. The problem is that every time I put a formula, if you have noticed that I have to drag the formula. We did it here also. I wrote one if condition and I was dragging the formula. Now Excel 2010 has a very unique feature of converting your data into table. Now converting data into table has got various advantages. Let's look at that before we close this session today. Okay. Now right now when you have this particular data, okay, so let's take an example that I want to format this data. I want to format this data, so I can go to, let's say, home and put some background color, something like this, light color maybe. So these are all things I can do. I can change these colors also in between to give it a very different look. I can beautify it. Now the problem is that whenever I remove some data from here, it will remove my formatting also. So that is the case in normal scenario. But in case of table, it will not happen. See, I'm reviewing the fill. So what I mean to say, that there is a better way of working with tables also. What I do, I just click here. Let's say this function is not there. I just click here and I go to the option called Format as Table, and then I select any one of the designs. Excel is asking, is this your data? Is this your data? I say yes, this is my data. But there is an option here that please consider the top row as my headers. If I don't do this, then what will happen? Excel will put its own column headings, column 1, column 2, column 3 like that, and I don't want that. So I say that, see, Excel, I have already put my column headers and consider those things. So see, the moment you say, okay, what happens? It changes into a table with a beautiful design. Now, you need not bother about the colors. If you don't like this color, you change this. If you don't like the pattern, you change it. Whatever you want, you can change it like this. This is one example. Now, by default, if you see that Excel has put the filters. Excel has put filters in your data. So that is another thing. And one more thing, see, that dragging of formula will be over once you introduce data as a table. See the beauty of table. I was using a function rand between.
and I said, let's say I put it as 10 to 90, anything. The moment I say 10 to 90 and press enter, look at column F, what happens. Excel automatically understands that I want to copy this formula. So it copies. So it understands that since I have put a formula here, so I would like to copy the same thing to rest of my cells. So this is the benefit of creating a table. So till the last cell, it has copied my formula. And similarly, I can just put here 1000, 5000, something like this. See? At one shot, I can create a database. I can create a table out here. And I need not bother about the formatting. I need not bother about the colors, the rows and the columns, and everything is being taken care of. And the filters are also in place now. Since it was a volatile function, it was changing. So if I do anything, so it will change. And you can see, meanwhile, we are also having the time function out here, which is also updating itself. I don't want this to update anymore. So what I'll do, I will just press, I'll copy and paste the values there only. I'll say Control C, and then I'll paste them there itself. I'll say Control V and I'll paste it. So now these are no more volatile functions. These are all values. So now you understand, creating a database to play around in Excel is not a big deal. You can always create, and if you are running short of time or running out of numbers, that what should I put, what kind of number should I put, always take help of these volatile functions in Excel that we have. So one of them I showed you, this rand between function. Okay. So this is a beautiful thing. So in our forthcoming session, what we will do, we will take this particular data set forward and we will learn the basics of formatting. So formatting, when I say, I'm not talking about just coloring these cells or let's say bold, underline. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about something called conditional formatting. So we will try to make this particular data interactive. Very interactive it will be. So we will take help of our if condition. We will take help of our the formatting rules that we already know, how to make it bold and colored and all those things, how to fill color within a cell, and we will take it forward from this particular data itself.